1063.com.
And now, it's Coast Vue with Ricky Matthews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota and AGJ Systems and Networks on SuperTalk 103.1 FM.
Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that every single day celebrates the people who are making coastal Mississippi such an amazing place to live, work, and play. You know, I get a question often. People want to know, they'll send me a private note and say, what do I hope Coast Vue accomplishes? I think that's a really good question. But if I think about the role that Coast Vue can play in the community, I often think of this quote by Mother Teresa when she said this: I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples. You know, that's when I talk about the 1,000 points of light in coastal Mississippi, I think we all have our roles to play. Everyone, every single light has a role to play to make our community a better place. And I hope that Coast Vue is just another stone in the water that creates a ripple. I'm inspired every single day. I hope you are too, by the incredible guests that we have. They have unbelievable stories to tell, and they have a lot to teach us. You know, I believe that the more you learn, the more you better learn how much you don't know, that life's a journey of discovery. And this opportunity I have to talk to these incredible people, I'm learning something new every day. I'm gaining an appreciation for the 1,000 points of light that exist all across coastal Mississippi. And, you know, the better we understand the people who are, you know, leading in the community, the more we appreciate what they describe is so special about coastal Mississippi. So I'm glad that Coast Vue is playing a role to enlighten us. And we're casting the stone that can create some more ripples. And I hope that our guests and certainly our guests and the people who listen to our guests get a better understanding of what this quote from Margaret Wheatley refers to, and that is this: there is no power for change greater than a community discovering what it cares about. We're gifted in coastal Mississippi to have a lot of enduring companies along the coast, and they've all stood the test of time. They're all super committed, and they understand that there is literally a powerful connection between business success and giving back to the community. Every one of those companies meets that description is led by a strong, selfless, community-focused leader. Every one of those leaders have a lot to teach us. These incredible corporate and community leaders understand fully. I mean, they understand it deep in their soul. What Herman Melville, you know, the great American novelist that wrote Moby Dick, he said this: we cannot live only for ourselves. A thousand fibers connect us with our fellow men. One of the best leaders that I've had the opportunity to work with in the trenches is John Hairston, the CEO of Hancock Whitney. He's among the best of the best, and we have the pleasure of having him on Coast Vue today for the full show. So, John, first of all, let me just say good morning.
Yeah, good morning, and thank you for the kind introduction. Great to see you, and Kyle, good to see you too.
Yeah, Kyle said on a muted mic, said thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Listen, Margaret Wheatley, you heard that comment. There is no power for change greater than a community discovering what it cares about. You get that deep in your soul, don't you?
Well, look, I think we talked about in the past on several occasions, the price of leadership is it means you're committed to a lifetime of service. And there's so many efforts we can apply shoulder to the load. You have to pick the ones that you think you can make the difference in. And I mean, you mentioned the ripple making business. The show that you do is in the ripple making business. And so I appreciate you deploying the talents that you and Kyle and your team there have to bring up topics of interest that I think are beneficial to not just the coast, but really the whole region.
Yeah, John, I've had a series of incredible conversations recently. And one that really comes to mind, someone you know really well, is the story of the Bertucci family and FEB Distributing. And Frankie, passing his baton to his sons, Jeff and Ryland. I had all three of them on the show simultaneously. I know he serves on your board. You've been longtime friends long before that, and he's a longtime friend of mine as well. But it's interesting to see. This is a fourth generation family business that's not only standing the test of time, and they're proving that these enduring core values they built into their company are truly enduring, and that they're able to sort of innovate and find new ways to do business. And Frankie's done a great job of sort of turning the reins over to his sons. But it's interesting, in every story like that, the story of FEB or any number of other stories that I tell, the story of Hancock Whitney and the incredible, history that it brings to the table that you and I have discussed again. In every one of those stories, there is an incredible awareness that you must, maybe must is the wrong word. Maybe it's a gift or a requirement or just an obligation that comes out of having success in your business, and that is giving back to the community. I mean, it's just built into the DNA of these companies in coastal Mississippi. You see it all the time, don't you?
We do, and probably the best benefit of being in the banking business is, by definition, the work that we do is to help people realize their financial goals and their dreams. And so, we're in the dream fulfillment business, and we get to see smaller companies hire people, grow, add more buildings, add offices, and over the course of time, that builds a community. It builds its employment. It builds its economic horsepower. It adds population. That adds representation in Congress. And so it all starts really with the small business getting bigger over time. So You mentioned the Bertucci's. They really are terrific people. And my age is in between, the Frank we all call Frankie, and I can remember when he and his brother were the Bertucci boys. And now the Bertucci boys are the next generation. And so it's really heartening to see that transition occurring. And now Frank would be the first to say that the younger the Bertucci boys, the smarter they get. So he's a very selfless individual, but they have done terrific, and they've been wonderful members of the community. And you rarely see an event that doesn't have their single hanging on it, because they always have been very, very committed to giving back.
Hey, listen, in the second segment of the show today, I want to get into what's the latest in the Hancock Whitney world. I had an opportunity to read your second quarter meeting with the analysts, and it's really amazing how your business has adjusted and it's doing well. I should point out Hancock Whitney is my bank, has been my entire life, was for my parents as well. And, if it weren't for Hancock Whitney, I may not have had the opportunity to retire early. That's the way I see it. Janet Baker and that team have done a great job of taking care of the Matthews family. But we'll talk about that.
It's about time you borrow some money, Ricky. It's time for a new boat.
No. So then in the third segment, I want to talk about the coast economy, how things are going on the coast. And then the last, we'll just kind of do cleanup in the last segment. But for the rest of this segment, I want to just real quickly, John, something I quoted you on many times, sort of the advice to young people, or maybe even not so young people who have not been involved in the community before. You made the incredible statement that you got to do your reps. You got to find what you want to be involved in and go do it, and then go find another organ and go do it. And then you'll work your way up. You got to flex those muscles, but you just don't get started as the president of the Gulf Coast Business Council. Remind people that wonderful lesson that you shared.
There's a few of those lessons that are at least first cousins, if not siblings. And, the success of a community is tied to the awareness of the community. And you can't get aware if you're not involved. And, there was an old adage that evil abounds where good people are. They don't used to say good men. Now we say good people do nothing. And it's true. And so the more you know what really is going on, where are the areas of progress we're making that we should be proud of, and areas of progress we should be but aren't making that need attention, and calling out each other when we need to, where we can and should do better. And that only happens with awareness. And so I think the lesson for the 40-something crowd, they're going to be running the place here in 10 years, right? So if you're 40, mid-40s or below, and you've never attended a political, I don't mean somebody running for office. I mean a city council meeting, a board of supervisors meeting, the updates with the mayor. Engage public officials and pick the issue that you think is the one that we should either be celebrating or getting much better at in a short period of time, and talk about it and share your expectations, and then laud people when they do well. And that applies to the business community as well. Some of the biggest difference I think Hancock Whitney has made in the past 5 or 6 years during what's been a tumultuous time are things we invested time and people into that I didn't know was an issue 5 years ago. And the reason I found out was because our team was involved in areas, and they came back and said, hey, we're not doing our job here. We can do better. And so we've begun to do that. A lot of that's been housing. It's been access to legal services for people that can't afford to defend themselves. There's been a lot more of that type of work going on.
Well, look, when we come back, we'll kind of close out the conversation about community and the importance of being involved in the community. We'll shift gears and sort of get the latest on what's happening at Hancock Whitney. And I'll close out this part of the conversation by restating what Mother Teresa said. I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples. We'll see you after this break with John Hairston.
Coast Vue on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by J. Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all the incredible inventory at allentoyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think J. Allen Toyota.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport or on allentoyota.com.
If Alexa's part of your life, you've got one more way to access SuperTalk. SuperTalk Mississippi is now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Once enabled, just say, Alexa, play SuperTalk Mississippi at any time and start listening. It's that easy. Just one more way to stay informed and connected with your state. Learn more at supertalk.fm/Alexa. SuperTalk Mississippi. SuperTalk Mississippi. Now available on Amazon Alexa devices. Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
From outer space, visitors from another world. We've had contact with bug-eyed monsters.
This is actually a flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
I'm from another planet.
Where late nights are kind of weird.
Well, they must have a reason for their visits.
The unexplained, the weird, and the downright creepy. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Late nights. SuperTalk Mississippi.
106.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, CasinoRadio1063.com.
His love for the coast is why he's here. It's Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. I have the honor of having my dear friend John Hairston, the CEO of Hancock Whitney, with us today. Hey, before we sort of close out the conversation about the community, one of the things that came to mind when you were talking, because you're always quick to point this out, that it's important for people to go to the city council meeting or go to a board of supervisors meeting. One of the comments I made to a guest, I don't remember who it was, in the last week or two was, I used to always say at the Sun Herald that, and you'll know exactly what I'm saying, when an elected official gets elected and they view going into that job as a promotion in life, that's not a good thing. That what we really want are leaders that really can't do it, but they're going to go ahead and do it. Like George Sloga, for example, a great example. That they're going to give back to the community. And, you know, look across, let's look at mayors, the mayor of Pascagoula, Billy Hughes, Fofo Gillich, Kenny Holloway, the new mayor of Pascagoula. All these guys were successful in their businesses in their own right and chose to come back to the community to give back. There's not enough money to pay them for what they're doing relative to where they came from. I wish more people would step up in that way. Don't you, John?
I do, but I'll tell you, it's a tough assignment. I mean, any elected leader means they're elected servants too, and you don't seem to get as many accolades as you deserve, and you always get more criticisms than you deserve. So it's a tough assignment, but it's a very responsible assignment. And so, as a community, the more feedback, and I mean constructive feedback, that we give elected citizens, neighbors, I think the better they can perform and the more we can celebrate those victories.
Yeah, we all talk about this, but in the day of social media, everyone's sort of empowered with a voice. Being a public official is not an enviable position. It is not. It's very, very difficult. We all know that. Hey, let's shift gears for a second. Before we get into Hancock Whitney and what's the latest there, I'd like to kind of talk about you for a second. You know, we came out of the pandemic. You've provided leadership all through the pandemic, both inside your company and outside of the community, but you're back on the road again. What's your thoughts about sort of where we are as it relates to Delta these days?
In the region or the coast, where would you apply?
I would say as it relates to the world that you're in, so it could be the region. Sure.
Well, you know, now it's not our first rodeo, right?
Yeah.
We learned an awful lot. I think we all in the community, in the government, in the private sector, and just as families, we learned good lessons and tough lessons last year. So now, you know, here we go again. The difference this time is we have weapons to defend ourselves in the form of vaccines that, you know, are absolutely effective in terms of preventing infection most of the time, about 75 to 80% of the time. And they definitely are preventing tough symptoms, although people, you know, occasionally still die from it, even though they've been fully vaccinated. But the numbers are compelling that the vaccines do their job. We didn't have that a year ago. So the only weapon we had a year ago was shut everything down. And the federal government had an opportunity by raising money that eventually we have to pay back in the form of taxes to kind of bail out the country, so to speak, bail out the shutdown. Well, that's not available to us again. So as we learn to coexist with whatever variants of COVID-19 come in the future, it will require us to learn to coexist. And that means we're going to be open. The world is going to continue to turn. The sun's going to come up in the east and set in the west like it did before COVID-19 existed. And learning how to power through that's going to be important. And I think as people get more comfortable with the vaccines and the booster program gets legs under it, then this becomes a nuisance versus a threat. And so I think that's where we are right now, is we're in the second round.
Yeah. Hey, John, when you, again, coming back to your earnings call, this is something that you said, and it kind of sets the stage for you telling us how things are going. But you said at this point, we're moving forward with renewed energy, focus, and a solid capital position. We've had a good start to 2021, but are keenly focused on navigating the remaining pandemic uncertainty with simultaneously dedicated to improve performance and value. Your business is doing pretty darn good in the throes of the pandemic, isn't it?
It really has. You know, last year was slow as expected. The congressional program that we refer to as PPP was probably the most successful on the bailout family, if I can call it that, of things that have happened the last 100 years or so. But it worked, and it put, I mean, just our own company put, you know, with partnership from the federal government, the taxpayer, put $3.5 billion of money in the pockets of the community. I mean, ultimately, those businesses are all neighbors, right? And so, and it carried the day, and I think we would be in a much worse economic position had it not been for PPP. And so where we are today, I think is now without anything coming to help, we're just sort of back to normal. But our first half of the year is the best first half we've ever had, ever. And we're, you know, we're about to narrow down on 125th anniversary here in just 4 more years. And so as a result, we feel pretty bright. We're investing a lot. We're hiring people. We've hired 100 people in the last 2 weeks, and unfortunately lost 100 people to quarantine because of the dang COVID infection. Well over 80% of those that we've had infected were unvaccinated folks. So, I mean, that's the story throughout every industry, and certainly what the healthcare folks are dealing with is the malady of convincing people that it's really a good call to at least talk to your physician about getting a vaccine. And Dr. TikTok and Dr. Google are not a reliable source of medical information. You need to talk to your doctor and go on the CDC. If you don't trust the CDC, trust your doctor. If you trust him to treat you when you've got a fever, then trust him to give you good counsel about whether you're a candidate and a good candidate for the vaccine.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. So if you think, you know, the kind of conversations you're having with your team today, what are some of the highlights to what's happening around the Hancock Whitney world these days?
Yeah, well, the good news is, you know, last year I think hunkered down, which I know is a perennial Southern phrase, but we were all hunkered down, you know, weathering through the storm as businesses, and that's representative inside the bank. This year, it's very different. What was positive sentiment at the end of last year has turned into action. So people are buying. They are, I mean, the supply chain issues are the only thing at this point holding back the economy. Number two being workforce. I think this month that will flip from supply chain is no longer top, and the availability of workforce is the top issue that businesses face. And we're having the same issue. We have never had as more open positions in this company as we have today. Never. As we have right now.
John, it comes up every single day with every single guest, either on the air or off the air, that the challenge of getting people is significant. And the other thing is, I shared a study recently that said 40% of those who are employed today during the pandemic had an opportunity to kind of think about what they wanted to do with their life, and they're considering moving. So you have the sort of the unnatural situation of correcting this unemployment situation. And then on top of that, you got people who feel a little bit more mobile than they felt before. When you add it all up, it's a big challenge for just about every kind of business, no matter what kind of people you're looking for.
Yeah, and you're right. We hear it as the chief obstacle from our own clients that are in the business side, and it will normalize. But I know it's popular among we business people to blame the stimulus payments, the extended unemployment benefits as the cause, and it is a cause, but it's not the only cause. And schools getting back to in-person classes is an enormously beneficial advent for the workforce being available, particularly when you get into single moms that don't have family to cover the kids, and the daycares are expensive. And so as a result, getting school back is an enormous help. The other item is just people getting past their fears of catching the illness and transmitting that maybe to people that they love, that have a higher exposure or maybe higher risk. So the combination of school, vaccines, and practice of just living with COVID, I think is the secret recipe to getting the economy moving at a continued expansion level that's really great for everybody.
Well, we'll get into some of the specifics of the coast economy in just a second, but coming back to Hancock Whitney, one of the things you and I talked about is that the pandemic sort of sped up trends that were in place before the pandemic.
Right.
And one of those, for example, was online banking. That will continue to skyrocket, won't it?
Yeah, I think we, and internally, we think it made up about 4 years worth of migration in 9 months. So, we recently announced the consolidation of a number of our we call them financial centers, but historically have been called branches. Which is not necessarily fun to do, but essentially what happened during the pandemic, we've been migrating about 5% of transactions that historically happened in financial centers to digital. When you say internet banking, there's computer, internet banking, and then there's digital on your smart device. In the pandemic year, 20% more migrated, 20%, 4 to 5 years worth of transactions migrated. So the consolidation of facilities that we're doing wasn't because we were trying to save money. It was because the demands changed. It also means we need to deploy a lot of money in digital enhancements as time goes by. So essentially it was a swing of resource from one channel, physical, to another. So it's worked out well.
This is John Hairston, CEO of Hancock Whitney. When we come back, we'll complete sort of the conversation around Hancock Whitney, and then we'll shift the gear to what's happening in coastal Mississippi. What could we expect going forward, et cetera. We'll see you after this break.
.3 Casino Radio is here. Tune to 106.3 to discover all of our must-see attractions and everything that's happening at our 12 incredible casino resorts. Where to eat, where to stay, what to do, and where to play. 106.3 Casino Radio has you covered with everything you need to know to help make your visit here to the coast one you'll never forget. Turn on 106.3 Casino Radio or listen now on our website, CasinoRadio1063.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking very hard to find PPE items to make our community a safer place. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. They were even sending thousands of dollars of PPE supplies free to local schools in need with help from other local business leaders. The next time your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider a local company that supports your ball teams, cheerleaders, and area homeless. Consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply, the local guys that keep your prices fair, your service and selection excellent, and your health our business. Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk.fm has a new look and is more informative than ever with expanded Mississippi news coverage, the latest Mississippi weather, Mississippi sports, and of course, the talk that's important to you. Every show, every podcast, and every late-breaking story. Constantly updating the news the second new developments happen. All in one place. The new SuperTalk.fm.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
From outer space, visitors from another world. We've had contact with bug-eyed monsters.
This is actually a flying saucer.
Flying saucer?
I'm from another planet.
Where late nights are kind of weird.
Well, they must have a reason for their visits.
The unexplained, the weird, and the downright creepy. Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Late nights.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, South Mississippi, the future has arrived. It's 2021, and at J. Allen Toyota, we're here to serve you. Want to let you know that we have Allen's lifetime warranty on every new Toyota we sell. That also comes with Toyota Care. That's 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. We have a great rental department. Our service department's ready to take care of your current vehicle. We're rolling out J. Allen certified pre-owned for 2021. You got to come to I-10 exit 38 right here in Gulfport. You're going to love what we have to offer. When you think Toyota, think Allen Toyota.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen.
Okay.
Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter, has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because, I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard, and, all this stuff was going on at the same time. / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
And now, it's Coast View with Ricky Matthews. Brought to you by J. Allen Toyota and AGJ Systems and Networks on Super Talk 103.1 FM.
Welcome back to Coast View. I have John Hairston, the CEO of Hancock Whitney, one of the smartest guys I know, one of the most committed guys I know. I don't know how he does what he does, to be honest with you, because his ability to compartmentalize is the best of anybody I have ever seen. He just calls up a file in his head and he can go as deep as you want to go. I think that's that engineer's mind in you, John, that is able to do that. But John, let's talk about a few more hot topics real quick before we go on to the coast economy, et cetera. What's your thoughts about the interest environment that we're in today?
Like interest rates?
Yes.
I mean, it's very unique. And I'll try not to get too bank-ish on you, but the interest rate environment we have right now is unique, not to my career, but to my lifetime. Typically when the economy is expanding at a rapid rate, interest rates are going up a lot. Well, and it's usually because of fear, right? And I mean, because of the lack of fear. Well, right, what we have right now is a very, very low interest rate environment, and not just in short-term rates, but in 5-year and 10-year money, or the yield curve is quite flat, and so. But confidence is actually very high. We have essentially almost as close as you ever get to a guarantee of an economic expansion for a year or two, certainly. And so as a result, there's also been all these tax incentives that were passed as part of various actions Congress took that make it very beneficial for expenditures, particularly equipment-related expenditures, this year. So I don't believe in my lifetime, there will never be a more advantageous period of time and particularly for businesses, to invest in retooling their shops, whether that is real estate or whether that is equipment, and particularly equipment, because of a combination of the tax benefits and the rate environment. And so after the financial recession, a few years ago, people didn't spend any money. And then we had 2 or 3 years of good times, and now we're back into an uncertain time. And the rolling together of all those factors means that there's plenty to invest in. That's a good time to do it. And we're seeing it. The highest volume new business we have behind consumer, which is interesting. That's new this quarter, in second quarter, has been in equipment finance. And I hope our listeners aren't missing that window, because on January 1st, the rules change. So consult your CPA to hear more about it. And if you need any help, I got a lot of people that can help you.
So, John, I mentioned a minute ago, I wasn't kidding. My work with Janet Baker and that team over a number of years helped sort of lay the groundwork for what is essentially my estate planning and enabled me to be able to retire. But I note in the call, too, that a really important growth part of your business is estate planning. How important is that?
It's very important. And, all of us think we're going to live forever, and none of us are. And so, and everyone has an estate, and some are bigger and more complex, and some are not. And so, but everyone needs a plan. And so one of the areas that we've invested in over time, as the company got bigger, we could afford to invest in it, is a robust financial planning, estate planning division. We have some terrific people we've hired from a lot of people from very large organizations that have joined us and some that are homegrown talent, like your banker. And so as a result, the combination of all those skills are very helpful. I went through it, but the bank is my advisor. And I can tell you the way I look at planning for retirement and planning for the end of my life and the benefit of my wife and my children, the complexion of how I do that is wildly different than it was before I sat down with those folks and did it. And that sounds like a commercial from my bank, but whether you bank with Hancock Whitney or not, as your neighbor, I would extort you to please go take the time to go through that exercise, because let me tell you, if you don't do it, the one thing I can guarantee you is your heirs are going to pay a lot more in taxes and potentially have a lot of financial distress as they deal with that transition if you don't do the plan.
Yeah, what I learned about it is there's no way that and even in the time that I have now to study it, there's no way that I can capture all of what I need to know to make the right decision. It's very complex, whether you're thinking about the laws related to it, the tax situation related to it, and there were a lot of gyrations that you guys helped us sort of work our way through so that we could, in fact, release as much burden as possible on our kids in the future when we pass on, when I'm 120 and Ann's 110.
There you go.
That's the plan, but it's very important. Hey, let's shift gears.
Sure.
So if you come to bring it to coastal Mississippi, what do you see in the coast economy, and what do you look forward to as we go forward?
Okay. Well, the Mississippi coast, South Alabama, and the Florida Panhandle had a very unique experience, and particularly the Mississippi coast, very unique experience during the pandemic. The effects of the pandemic economically were actually felt less here than any other place because we became the destination as a flight to safety. And kudos to our hospitality industries and to our tourism organization leadership to kind of roll with those punches and make sure that we sort of sold the benefits of spending time on the coast during that difficult time. So people came to visit us that have never visited us before. It was new. And so, and the experience they got was really wonderful. I think they're going to keep coming and come back. So the damage wasn't as bad here as it was elsewhere. So if you take all the congressionally delivered benefits, which our community was able to take full advantage of, combined with the damage not being as bad and the opportunity for future business being better, it's a little magical. And if we'll take advantage of it and don't do anything goofy, then we have an opportunity to really get some benefit. So this is a time not to pull your horns in. It's a time to shift into the next gear in terms of spreading out hospitality ventures further, of creating and use some of the proceeds of that to enhance the quality of life of our citizens. We have a terrific industrial infrastructure on the coast. We have companies that build things that everybody in the world knows and uses. And but a lot of our folks don't live here, and the reason is because there's quality of life gaps here that can be filled. They're not fast. They're not ribbon cutting, and in a year it's over. It takes investments that are bold and courageous. And we just decide, by gosh, we're going to make them successful. And you keep pouring effort and money and passion into them. And then you wake up 10 or 15 years from now and you have something wonderful. And so I hope that we don't squander the opportunity. We've blown the assignment a few times in the past. And I really hope as a community of leadership, of elected officials, both here and in Jackson, that we take advantage of the moment that we have. It's here and it's going to pass.
Yeah, for the first time probably maybe in our history, we've led the way, not only within Mississippi and the nation, but maybe internationally. You're a former member of the Gaming Commission. The way that our casinos came together and developed an approach to how we could reopen literally became a worldwide best practice for the casino industry. I mean, when you add it all together, our focus on 80% of the people who came here in cars, and we wanted to make sure they knew this was going to be a safe vacation for them. You add those things to the fact that we've got things like the BP money that's sitting out there for the restoration fund to help make private investments in things like mixed-use developments and whatever. Man, if we can get these stars to align, John, like you point out, we could certainly blow it. But if we could get these stars aligned from Jackson all the way to the coast, we could do some things here that are literally transformative, couldn't we?
Yeah, we just have to. And I know it's hard. I mean, it's so much easier for you and I to say it versus actually do it. I know it's tough, but I think we have to be very open-minded and consider angles on things that may not even be popular. They may not be risk-free. We have to be able to digest the 20% of the time we're wrong, but give it a whirl for the benefit of the 80% that we're right. And so I think those opportunities are there. And so and what I'll do, and I shared with you earlier, Ricky, if we look around the country, there are pockets that look a lot like us. They have similar economies, similar degrees of diversity, sort of a mixed population that didn't all grow up in this one spot, that came in from other places and stayed. So we have some things that are kind of unique about us, but not completely unique. So there's other areas that have these huge successes, and if we'll adopt them, which is a friendly way of saying steal those ideas and deploy some of those best wins from around the country here, I think we'd have great success. But here's the key. None of them make a difference next year. I mean, you're investing for 10 or 15 years out, but if you don't do it, we just kind of continue to meander around the same level that we are. So when I look around at the coast, and I'm biased because I grew up here, I mean, I get it, but I mean, we have a pretty broad footprint, and I travel around the country almost continuously, but there are very few areas that have all the gifts, GIFTS gifts that we have here on the coast that you can't buy. We just have them. It's a terrific opportunity.
I can't agree more. We'll kind of close out this part of the conversation and then see what else might be on John's mind to kind of finish out the session. So when we come back, we'll complete our conversation in the final segment with John Hairston, the CEO of Hancock Whitney. See you after this break.
You can also listen live to SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on your Amazon Alexa devices. Once you've enabled the skill, just say, Alexa, open SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast.
SuperTalk.fm has a new look and is more informative than ever with expanded Mississippi news coverage, the latest Mississippi weather, Mississippi sports, and of course, the talk that's important to you. Every show, every podcast, and every late-breaking story. Constantly updating the news the second new developments happen. All in one place. The new SuperTalk.fm.
Hey, South Mississippi, it's Jay Allen at Jay Allen Toyota, and I got something new for you for 2021. It's the Jay Allen Certified Collection. What that means is we selected our very best inventory with under 75,000 miles, and they're 6 years old or newer. That comes with a multi-point inspection, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and a 3-day buyback guarantee. So come check out the Jay Allen Certified Pre-Owned Collection right here, I-10 exit 38 in Gulfport, or on allentoyota.com.
When COVID started, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply began stocking hard-to-find PPE items. When Amazon and other mega internet companies were out of stock or inflating prices, Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply was providing local schools and businesses vital PPE supplies at fair prices. When your office needs PPE supplies, office furniture, or products to keep your business operating, consider Gulf Coast Business Furniture and Supply. We sell that too. Buy local.
SuperTalk Mississippi, your new home for the Ben Shapiro Show.
We don't hold back. We never shy away from telling you the truth.
The most electrifying national talk show on air today.
We have the most important guests and the biggest thinkers in America.
Ben Shapiro, brutally breaking down the issues of the day.
From politics to pop culture, we take a look at all of it. So don't miss out.
Weeknights at 9.
For something new and unique in talk radio, take a listen to The Ben Shapiro Show.
On SuperTalk Mississippi.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We're talking to Dale Berra. Take me back to growing up and what it was like in the household with a dad like Yogi Berra.
You know, we grew up with his funny sayings. You know, I remember Dad managing the Mets, and me, Larry, and Timmy are watching the game on TV. And all of a sudden, two streakers run out of the stands on TV, and the camera flips away from them. So when he gets home, me, Larry, and Timmy say, "Hey, Dad, those streakers, what were they, boys or girls? We need to know." And Dad looked us right in the eye and said, "I couldn't tell. They had bags over their heads."
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Matthews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. Today's one of those days, throwing that stone into the water and hoping that it ripples. There's so much to learn from people like John Hairston, CEO of Hancock Whitney. Hey, John, before we lead that conversation about the coast and how unique we are, I often say about this place is that we're this collection of communities. You know, each has its own unique sense of place. And if you go like the Pascagoula, for example, which I did recently with Paige Roberts, the CEO of the Jackson County Chamber, and walk around downtown Pascagoula and just see the number of, they're small, but there's a collection of them, mixed-use developments where there's office or restaurants down below, and then there's residential above. We're just seeing this. You see projects that are planned for Gulfport, projects that are planned for Biloxi. You look at some things that are happening in Pass Christian and especially Bay St. Louis. But one of the key factors to succeed in this new economy is you got to build the kind of places where people want to live. Okay, we've got so many of those things in place, but if we can bring our downtowns back and create more mixed use and things like that, we've got a chance to attract these jobs that are part of the new economy. Some of them are technical jobs. Some of those they fit a wide variety of needs, but it describes the kind of people who can just about go anywhere, and they usually pick where they want to live. You see that, don't you?
We do, and as we look across our footprint, the emergence of live where you work is certainly on the move. Now, the more urban the environment, the more the pandemic hurt that. But in here in South Mississippi, there's really not a lot urban about us, right? Our whole region feels suburban, and the suburbs were the winners in the pandemic in terms of migration of where people wanted to live, and so. I think milking that as an opportunity for growth is very important. And so whether it's mixed-use development, whether it is very, very early education, and by early education, I'm not talking about 5 or 6 years old. I'm talking about 5 or 6 months old. And we've seen Pensacola is one of the greatest stories of investing in education of new moms, and teaching new moms how to speed up the development of their baby's brain because it's still developing when they're born. Has been an incredible. That'd be a great show sometime to do, Ricky, to actually hear the story of the private sector guy that decided, since the government wouldn't fund the experiment, he'd pay for it personally, and seeing the results that are underway. And those kids are now beginning to be in middle school, and seeing that program applied to people of different income levels, different races, different family structures, and seeing the consistent success of those kids academically because it started when they were babies. It gives you hope. And if we could, if we took all the money we have sitting around in different pots could be spent and did nothing but created more talent among our emerging citizens, I'd rather do that than cut ribbons any day because it's tangible benefit that's proven. And so there's all kinds of different ways to spend money for the good.
There is so many different ways. Hey, look, I spent a lot of time on this show because of the amount of misinformation that's out there around the vaccine, trying to just sort through that, make sure people got the best information from the professionals so they can make the best informed choice about the vaccine, and not doing so with misinformation. But you guys are involved in a lot of efforts to try to get the vaccine rate up. Tell me about that.
Well, we've internally, our greatest challenge has been overcoming sort of two, I'll call them families of concern. One is just concern about the safety of the vaccine. I've heard, this is an educated workforce, right? We've heard the vaccine impedes my health. It hurts my heart. It hurts my lungs. It may create more exposure to other flus down the road. It could affect fertility. It could affect my unborn child. There's all sorts of different information out there that doesn't necessarily have a real medical basis for it. And so we will be introducing panels of subject matter experts from hospitals in our region, including here, that will be participating in these Zoom recorded panel discussions that we can share with all of our teams. And we're getting the questions from them. What's the question you want to ask? And we're going to get an answer from somebody that's a neighbor, that's in our markets, that is dealing with this every day and can share an answer and hopefully address that group. There's another group that is more, it's kind of resistant to being told what to do and feels that the push to vaccinate is somewhat of an infringement on their freedom, and helping people that feel that way. And I get why they feel that way, and it is your choice, but ultimately you also have the freedom to protect yourself and those you love. And if well informed, I think we'd see a larger group of people that feel that way willing to consider it, not because it's preachy or because they're getting strong-armed into it, but because the facts support that it may make your life better. And shaming or arming doesn't work. What we know works is just fighting fire with facts and letting people have the best information possible so they can make the best. Hey, the good news is if you start looking at some of the vaccination rates over, say, the last week, just look at the last week. Across Mississippi, we're doing way better, way better. I think the reality of the Delta variant, people are becoming more aware of what we're dealing with there, and they're coming to their senses and doing their homework and moving in the right direction. But John, final word. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so the other thing that we're going to do, which I haven't seen anybody else do it, but it's such a dreary topic, right? I mean, it's hard to find something positive about COVID and vaccinations and all that. So we're going to try to inject some fun into it. I think our folks, they deserve some fun. So we're going to begin paying effective now. We're announcing this here in a couple of hours. And I think the show is recorded one day after or recorded the day before. So this will be one day old news. But we are going to begin compensating all of our folks who have been vaccinated to date and going forward $150 towards getting to a 75 or 80% vaccination rate inside. And to make it fun, every 2 weeks, once you provided proof of your vaccination card, we're going to draw names and we're going to give people 10 grand.
Oh, wow.
I mean, real money that makes a difference in a family. And it's not about the money. It's fun. I mean, so we're going to do that every 2 weeks to the end of September. And when we get to the end, we're going to have another drawing. That's going to be $100,000. So, and if we can save one life, just one life, by spending a little money to generate that internal interest, whether it's one of our people, their families, or somebody that just comes across one of our folks who might have caught COVID. If we can do that, it's worth it to me for the benefit of our team, our investors, and our communities. And so I hadn't heard of anybody doing that yet, but as we racked our minds, we said, let's do something that's fun. And do something that does the Lord's work, so to speak. And it also creates value, because if all my team is here and they're healthy, we're going to create value, both in our communities and for our investors. And so we're doing that and announcing it here in a couple hours.
Congratulations, and leading by example. This is John Hairston, CEO of Hancock Whitney. Thanks, my friend. It's been great to catch up with you.
Hey, thanks for all you do. Take care. You and Kyle both. We really enjoy the work that you put out.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
You bet. You too.
Follow SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1 on Facebook. Facebook.com/SuperTalk MS Coast 103.1.